This is Carl with the three things I'm watching for Wednesday, November the 26th. Start out, I just want to give a heads up. This will be the last three things for the week. I'm not going to do a show on Friday. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Friday, it's a short session. We're taking the day off here. So this will be the last update for the week. We'll be back next Monday. First story I'm starting out with today, though, is basically it's a comment I saw yesterday on U.S. soybean export loadings this week. We loaded out 29 million bushels, and there was a comment about how it was the lowest total for the week since the year 2006. Here's the deal, though. I got to looking at that, and I wanted to compare the 2 years to see how relevant they were and how poor it really was. Well, here's the deal. Bottom line is, yes, our exports 29 million bushels for the week. It was the lowest volume for that week since 2006. However, let's look at and compare the 2 years. In 2006, the November 9th WASDE report in 2006, and you can look this up, I did. Carryout was projected at 445 million bushels on soybeans with a 14.6% stocks to use. We currently have a 290 million bushel carryout with a 6.7% stocks to use. To see smaller exports than we saw 19 years ago when our carryout was almost twice what it is this year is not shocking. The fact that we were also only 3 million bushels less than what we need per week to meet our USDA goals also makes it a little less relevant. What I'm trying to point out with this is there's a lot of analysts out here bringing up BS factors that really don't matter and comparing the current year to 20 years ago, trying to make a negative story. And it's not a negative story. It is not a negative story that our export loadings last week were the lowest since 2006. Now, maybe you're not trying to paint that story, but if you're going to bring that data up, tell both sides of it. That's my advice and that's my opinion. If you're going to compare export pace in a market that is slowing when you have price rationing taking place compared to a market where you have abundant, almost burdensome soybean stocks, you are not comparing apples to apples. And we are going to leave it at that. Second thing I want to talk about, corn. We've seen a lot of corn trades here this week. A lot of feed grain corn getting traded, smaller shipments. One I want to watch out on corn, and we talked about China here a week or so ago. Chinese corn values are rallying hard, and almost getting to the point where it's making it difficult for some buyers. That does not sound like a bumper grain crop that China has been promoting. I would not be surprised we didn't see China in buying some U.S. corn. Maybe not because it's outright needed, but because it's needed for blending. And I think we could see that developing here. Don't get too lethargic on that corn trade. We could see some demand build there real quick. And the third and final thing I want to talk about today is the cattle market reaction to that news that Tyson was closing that packing plant in Lexington, Nebraska, and then slowing down the one down in Amarillo, Texas. The thing is even with them closures, it's not going to cause a panic in the beef market by any means. The thing is we were only running about 80% of our chain capacity in the United States prior to this, and it's still, we're up not even close to 90% of capacity with these slowdowns. I expect to see another packing plant, maybe two or three, shutter as well until we can get our cattle numbers back up. That's a good year and a half out yet. I would say 18 months before we get this cattle herd built back up. And again, placements that October placements at 90% is not going to get it done. We need to get those placements up over 100% if we're going to see this herd build. I've said that before. Until then, yes, we will see big sell-offs like we had this week with limit losses. But again, yesterday the buyers showed up. I expect that trend to continue. Buying on breaks, but selling on rallies. Just depends who shows up for the day. Those are the three things I'm watching today. Have yourself a happy Thanksgiving.